Oh boy, here we go. Hi. If you're watching this, you've probably started to play the Umineko fighting game called Umineko Golden Fantasia, or Ogan Musho Kyoku, I guess, often abbreviated as OMK. I'm also guessing that you've experienced some frustration or you simply want to get better. And just real quick, I'm John, and I've been a fairly avid player of this silly fighting game. I'm not the best player, but I do consider myself top 3 in our goofy community of people that rarely play this game. And honestly, the player count isn't very high, so saying I'm top 3 isn't much of a claim. That being said, sadly, this game was somehow worse when it first released, and now it's still awful, but it's a lot less awful, and it does have a lot to offer, which is why I've bothered to play it as much as I have. But let's get down to business here. So as I said, I'm John. I often have given basic tutorials of this game to new players who want to get into it, and instead of doing a stream for 30 minutes for each new player, I usually sit them down and say, hey, here's how the game works. I decide I'm just going to finally make a video guide that I can give to new people that come into their community and are like, want to learn. So I'm going to start with intermediate advice, and I may or may not give beginner advice. And it's going to assume that you know some basic fighting game fundamentals, like if you do a sweep and you get punished, you understand why, because that's just fighting game fundamentals. So a quick preface. The first thing is that I'm not a video editor, and I'm not going to pretend to be. Doing this all in one cut, one take, whatever. And second is that for anyone that's intermediate or that thinks the knowledge I'm telling you is wrong and you want to argue, that's fine and good. But the advice I'm going to give here is meant to get you, intermediate or starting player, starting with just understanding the basic concepts of this game. And when you're good enough to argue with me with actual valid points as to why what I'm teaching may circumstantially be wrong, that's really good, and you probably don't need this guide. It's easy to be really tangential and go off about every tiny circumstance that some of these pieces of advice may not apply in. But that's dumb and unproductive for a new player who just wants to get a basic grasp and understanding of the game. Surely, if you're watching this, you played a fighting game and you're like, what's some ideas to not suck? And someone's like, oh, 5B is a good normal with cannon. And then someone else is like, actually, 5B isn't really that great of a normal because Erica's 2B is actually a lot better if you go into training mode and you actually just set Erica on doing 2B. You'll actually notice that 5B actually doesn't beat it out very often because it has more range and it's really actually not quite as good as you might think. It's like, okay, yeah, we get that, right? That happens, but I'm trying to get you on board to understand all the wacky stuff of this game, right? So please. Right, so let's begin. I've written down some notes here, right? A bit of a script. In OMK, everything is about the initial first strike with your first meter because having a 1 meter combo with your partner plus meta declaration is almost always better than the alternative. If that didn't make sense, don't worry. I have a visual demonstration here. So, here is my team, Cat and Lucy, doing a basic combo. 850 damage. Here's using my partner meter at the bottom left. Same exact combo with this little more. 1.2k. Now, that's fine, but you can get a lot more. I don't go to training mode too often. Yeah, here we go. So here's me using 1 meter, okay? A basic confirm with this team using 1 meter. So keep in mind it was about 850, then it was about 1.2k. I fucked up the ender, but you can see here, the damage here is significantly more than 1.3k, right? 1.2k. Averaging 2.6k, I also got a stun. So, this game is about efficiency. And when I refer to multiplayer matches, when you start a match, right? Everyone is what I've referred to as 0-0. So, I'm not sure if my cursor is visible, but if you look at the top left, you see Cannon having 0 meter. At the bottom left, Lucy having 0 meter. And it's the same for your opponent. So, fuck. My new computer shows my fucking friends on Steam. That rustles my jimmies. I'll have to turn that off. But yeah, so you really want to make use of that 1 meter. That's everything in this game. So, as you saw, there was 2.6k versus 1.3k. You really, really need to get that first hit. But after this combo, you'll notice the situation. My opponent has more meter than I do. Why is this? Well, there's something a bit odd about the way meter is handled in this game compared to other fighting games. Your partner is the one that gets your meter and not your on-point character. If you've played other team fighting games, you both just share a meter that you all just kind of use. In this game, that is not the case. This means that it's fairly easy to sabotage yourself by doing an attack touch early. If I were to say, do this, notice how my Lucifer on point has 0 meter. But she's actually really close to having full meter. At the bottom left of the screen, you can see the bars there. Lucy has almost, I'd say like 90-95%. A couple more hits, and she'll be able to come in to do a meta declaration. And as I've said before, doing this combo is a lot less efficient than doing the full combo. This is 1.5k, again, compared to the 2.6 or so. I don't feel I need to demonstrate this point. So, it's easy to sabotage yourself with the way meter works in this game. This means that in the event where you're fighting someone and the both of you are at 0, and let's say you land a hit, you could use a dash cancel to keep your Lucy on point and not fuck up your combo that you've done hundreds of times. This will keep my Lucifer gaining meter, and the next time I land a strike, I will be able to bring Lucifer in and use that 1 meter to do the meta declaration. Because being able to just reset your combo, especially with Lucy in particular, is good. I didn't do the combo there, dropped it, but again, you get the point. So having your reserve character get to 1 meter and then bring them in once you confirm is the main thing that I see a lot of new players who start out. New players, even ones that are really good at fundamentals, will be like, ha, I know how to play this fighting game. Look at this combo I just did. Haha, get fucked. You big loser, I'm beating you up. I'm so good at the neutral, I'm just talented at fighting games. And then they bring in their other character and they'll be like, yeah, that's my Lucy combo. But it's like, well, why didn't you use the meta declaration? You'd have gotten a lot more damage there. So, these are just things to consider. Look into using 1 meter. So, the other thing I should mention is how meter is distributed in this game. And it may seem paradoxical, but if you notice the meter gain, as silly as this may seem, Delanor, the opponent, my opponent's reserve, that is taking more, or has more meter than my character, Lucifer, despite the fact that I've been hitting here. You get more meter from losing health in this game. Blocking in this game gives the blocker more meter as well. In case you think I'm full of shenanigans, I will in fact demonstrate this for you. So, here you can see the opponent is blocking. Delanor is at 1 meter, and Lucifer is not quite at 1 meter. So again, there is an advantage here. Ah, fuck you! This guy, with his stupid Doom 3. Anyway. This means, again, losing health gives you more meter. Blocking gives the blocker more meter. So this basically translates to, if you're getting your ass kicked, you actually have the opportunity to do more damage. And also, as I mentioned earlier, if you hit someone else, you may want to do the dash cancel to get your reserve to have 1 meter instead of bringing them in too fast. You really don't want to sabotage yourself by having less meter. So, really important things to consider. The next thing to tell you about is that this game has 0 frame throws, and they will beat everything else in many circumstances. If you do a jump in very high up, and that jump in is blocked fairly high up, this game has fairly low hit stun compared to a lot of other fighting games, which makes it very hard and very punishing to confirm. If you remember older games, like Third Strike, a lot of times you really need to be on point with your confirms in Third Strike, and I'm sure other fighting games have this too. It tends to be more of a modern trend to give a little more hit stun so that people can react. But not this game. This game will be savage, and if you're not canceling those normals very quickly, you'll mess things up. And because you have so little hit stun, and because jump-ins are 0 frame, you may do something like this. I'll show you. See how the grab whiffs? That's because she's still in hit stun. Block stun, I should say. And that's just my jump medium. The jump C has more hit stun. It can be a little ridiculous. See, I literally had time to run in and dash. And again, if I throw, you can see I'm in fact in range, right? So, this game has very, very, very punishing amounts of hit stun. As in, for the confirmer. You may just drop combos. I've seen high-level players just drop combos because, well, they just weren't completely 100% on point with their confirms. So, keep that in mind. Sometimes you'll just eat a grab or a full combo if you do those high jumps, or if it ever just seems weird that you were grabbed out of something. As I said, the game with its low hit stun and 0 frame throws just mean odd grabs happen. And sometimes this means that you're both just going to grab each other when you're next to each other in tech. So the next thing, that there are abilities in this game. I'm not going to go into too many details about abilities and the strategies behind them, but I think that it's important and a very easy thing to overlook. You gain your abilities by using the meta, neutral tag, or assault touch. A quick little note on abilities, since this is a bit more of an intermediate guide as opposed to necessarily a complete rookie thing. You'll see that below my feet I get silent attack and attack touch. Whenever the shortest ability's duration runs out, when you have both, they both disappear. This may seem a little paradoxical. We'll count silent attack and its duration instead of talking. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, about 9-ish seconds, right? That's how long silent attack lasted. Under Lucifer's feet, you can see the glowing sphere. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In this case, Canon and Lucifer's ability shares a very similar timer. There are some characters in the game that will have abilities that last for an incredibly long time. One of my favorite teams, Delano and Shannon, is an example of one of these teams. They last about 15 seconds. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So, if I were to pair one of the shorter abilities, like Canon or Lucy's, the ability that Shannon or Delano gave to Shannon would run out in 9 seconds as opposed to the 14. So, just keep that in mind. I'm going to go back to my main team here to demonstrate stuff. The other way to get it is just by neutral tagging. You can also, like I said, meta, which gives you both abilities. And then there is Assault Touch. Keep in mind, Assault Touch is not something you should utilize unless you have no other option or you are feeling very risky. But this will give Canon's ability to Lucifer. It's a little better than a burst, but obviously if you're getting hit, you can burst. You can't Assault Touch if you're being hit. So this brings me to neutral tagging. So neutral tagging, it's hard to demonstrate in training mode, but as you take damage, you have Grey Life in this game. So you'll recover all your Grey Life, which can give you quite a bit of health in some circumstances, and it's going to reduce your guard meter, your guard gauge at the top left or top right, by half. And that's great. Excuse me. Keep in mind, though, as an intermediate player reading this or listening to this, watching it, whatever, that sometimes your reserve character might have a much worse neutral game or matchup against the on-point character. Also, if you just neutral tag, sometimes the other person will just run at you and punish your character coming in. A little detail about this is if you have an air move, you're technically considered airborne as you neutral tag. You'll notice that I'll actually start to gain distance from my opponent, despite the fact that neutral tag, by default, forces you in the same spot, as you can see here. But, again, if you end up utilizing those air moves... whoops, wrong direction. If you end up utilizing those air moves, you actually make yourself safer. Now, it does take a little bit of time to kind of get this. You can even just do basic jump-ins. Pretty neat. So, this can have some fairly odd effects with some characters. Mostly in the form of like Lambda and Burn. They both have some shenanigans with this. I will demonstrate very briefly here. Let's see. Whoops, I did it wrong. So yeah, you can see Lambda kind of flew all over the place there. Burn really flew forward there. This game also has inherited momentum. So, yeah, it's weird. You can really fly all over the place. See, there, Lambda flew forward a lot more. It depends on when you time the jump to see. So, just keep that in mind. It's definitely a thing that comes up sometimes as an intermediate player. I swear to God, Raynor, you and your fucking Steam messages. Got a new PC, I normally turn those off. So yeah, that's more or less abilities and neutral tagging in a shell nut. Bursting is self-explanatory, it takes 2 meter. Attack touch, whatever, you know, it extends your damage. It's pretty basic things. But I thought neutral tagging deserved a bit of a elaboration. So the next thing is that meta declaration can only be done with the on-point character's meter. You remember how characters gain meter by giving it to their partner? So this means that, generally speaking, have a character with higher meter doing your declaration or having a higher meter character on point is a good idea. Even if you just hit the enemy with the confirm and then declare your meta, you are forcing them to spend a meter to not eat a full damage combo from you. This is really interesting because it helps remove your meter disadvantage. So let's just say you have a situation where you have 1 meter and the opponent has 3. You might think, well, if I attack the enemy, they can just argue against me and break it. But look at the meter at the top. Fuck me. This will be really annoying to show. Here. So you'll see that because I broke Erica's meter, because I broke her meta declaration, I have a meter disadvantage. We're both at 5. Now I'm at 3 and she's at 4. I had to pay to make her not do something, and she has to pay 1 meter to do her declaration. Also, I'm sick with something like a head cold or sinuses. I just realized that I might sound very goofy and kind of nasally. I swear I don't sound like a nasally nerd nearly as much without it. That being said, though, the characters and the meta declaration, it's good to still have your character with more meter on point. Because as I said, you hit them, well, you force them to spend meter, and that helps you recover from your disadvantage. So, a note on the meter flow and meta declaration is that because you give meter to your partner, it's generally a very, very bad idea to not bring in your 5 meter character, because the enemy is going to get meter during the interactions of whether you are hit or being hit, while they have none. I don't know if that makes sense. So I'll give a visual demonstration here, okay? I'm gonna beat the hell out of this Erica here. And we're gonna get her meter high. But you see, we're both gaining meter. Right? It makes sense. This is fighting games. But note this, right? When Delano's at 5 meter here at the bottom right, my opponent, if I keep hitting her, she does not gain that meter. All this potential meter she's gaining is being lost, whereas my Lucifer is continuing to gain meter. So just hitting her is giving me a disadvantage in this situation. This is giving me an advantage. I'm gaining meter on my Lucifer, whereas she's gaining nothing. My opponent is gaining nothing from this exchange, whereas I'm applying pressure and gaining meter. So this means just hitting them, a pretty good idea, right? So that's one of those intermediate things that you might see higher level players do, like, oh yeah, I'm at 5 meter, so I'm good. Well, you really want to find a way to utilize that 5 meter or switch your characters, because even if all you can do is a neutral tag, at the very least, if you do a neutral tag and you're still continuing to get hit, at least now Erica is gaining meter. Now I'm the doofus because My Lucifer is at 5 meter and I'm not gaining any meter. I should bring Lucifer in as soon as possible and utilize this meter to start beating them up. Hopefully this all makes sense. And meter advantage is everything in this game because it lets you do the meta decoration. So, good stuff. So, the next part of this game is, this is all a little more basic, right? But it's much more circumstantial, but you should generally have a confirm that leads to a stun if you have the meta declaration, as I have demonstrated here. Oh yeah, pick Erica. The reason why I say to pick Erica is because Erica's hitbox is very small. This game has character-specific combos. Who doesn't love those? No one, I assume. No, I'm just kidding, they're awful. But you'll see, Battler's close 5C will just straight whiff on Erica. Isn't that something? So, pretty goofy, right? So this means that if it hits Erica, it probably hits everyone else. Plus, this is also something that I even recently saw someone, and no offense to this fellow if he watches this video, but a lot of new players will be like, alright, I have me a new combo. It's a Battler jump CB into this. And you're like, yeah. Well, how often does someone get hit by a jump in just standing? Much less high enough for you to do the second part of this combo. You're like, yeah, I got a stun. Well, it's like, no. Actually, the reality of the situation is Erica's probably going to be crouching, and you're going to do this. You're going to do the combo you think is good with this high jump C, and it's going to whiff, and then you're going to land and get thrown. Or, alternatively, you can't even do jump CB because Erica's too low to the ground. So, force, when you're learning training mode, put Erica on the ground, and then practice landing your jump C on a combo like this. This will be what teaches you how to do actual combos and learn real combos. Fuck you, Rainer. Anyway, so hit her and see what stuns, right? This is pretty important. I think this will stun, and if it doesn't, that's fine. But this 2A confirmed, pretty basic. But just get an idea for what stuns and what doesn't. Don't worry if this combo doesn't stun, you're still doing a ton of damage. I fuck it up because this game sucks. It's all the game's fault, not mine. Oh my gosh. My pads down is not doing so hot. Alright, so yeah, my pads down is constantly not working. Oh my gosh, that's really spongy. Okay, there we go. So this should stun Erica, assuming I don't fuck it up. So it'll be like, yeah, okay, you stun him. Good job, great. And then, you know, now you could do the jump CB because they're stunned, right? And then DP at the end. But yeah, so that would be an example of, hey, hit Erica and see what stuns. Try not to rely on jump-ins to stun, because you never know if you will. But learn a basic combo that will hit a crouching Erica and stun her without spending a fuck ton of meter. Because you could possibly say, well, I spend 10 million meter to stun Erica, but that's not really good. And I'll get into why in a moment here. So, pick Erica, hit her, put her on crouch, see what stuns. As I said, hitboxes in this game are dumb. For example, Erica crouching just doesn't get hit by Battler 5C. So, these are things you really need to know and don't want to start losing combos to players that are probably already better than you, and then you start just losing combos because, well, you don't know these things. So set yourself up for success and don't start with some ridiculous jump-in combo, because that's not setting yourself up for success in a real match. Learn to confirm, learn a combo that you can do on crouching Erica, and you'll be set. In this game, there's low hit stun, as I mentioned before with the throws, so combos can be particularly punishing. It's mostly important that you're optimizing every hit as a new player. Some teams won't get a big massive stun or knockdown, or perhaps you'll be in a situation like the beginning of the game, where there is no meter. Well, what's your most optimal hit if you land like a Battler tie? Oh yeah, you dash cancel. Do something like this. Pretty optimal. Is it a perfect stun combo? No, it is not. But you need to get the most out of all of your combos. Shut the fuck up, Eric. I hate you. Fucking chopsticks. It's the worst part. Because Every time I do this exercise, I always pick Crouching Erica because she has the stupidest hitbox to show people good fundamentals. But she always says, "Oh, she does so." Fucking the worst in training mode. The game has a lot of detail, though. Very pretty game. So always get the most out of every hit, even if you don't necessarily get a stun. It's fine. Just make sure you're always trying to get to knockdowns, do good damage, get good setups. Yeah, so the next thing is about ability-based teams. This is something that is very circumstantial and might be difficult for people to understand that don't really play OMK. But ability-based teams, those abilities I mentioned before, do a lot of unique things. So they can be fun, and there can be nice synergy between certain teams, characters, or abilities. But generally, when you're constructing a team in this game, you can pick whoever you want, and that's fine. But in terms of like intermediate play, where you're trying to get good, you should construct a team that doesn't get rid of any advantages a character or a team may provide. So, for example, Delanor and Lucy. Lucy gives an extra attack touch, but Delanor can't do a standing combo. It's not good. You look at something that might be a good team, where even if you have 0 meter, you can neutral tag, for example, to Goats, and then neutral tag to Beatrice. Like this. Beatrice ability gives Virgilia a free EX, and then Virgilia ability puts because of the Goats put the opponent at the other side of the screen, you also get Virgilia's ability, which is pretty fucking great. So here we go. Free ability, despite having 0 meter. And then bring in Beatrice, and then zone them. So you'll notice that the ability under Beatrice's feet here gives you 75% of the meter over time. It gives it to both Virgilia and Beatrice. So, pretty good. That's an example of a nice little detail. Something, and you know, they both need a lot of meter and generate a lot. I have a lot of EX moves that are very powerful with each other. So, that's an example of a team that fundamentally seems pretty alright. But something to consider, all intermediate players, is that a match in OMK is very flexible and constantly changing. Sometimes a character can come in with a meter advantage, giving them more flexibility in a matchup, or alternatively, you might lose flexibility due to having a low life, a certain type of partner without meter gauge, and etc. The final thing is very difficult for me to talk about, but I'll get into it last because I realize there's one more thing I want to bring up. On the point of combos, you should generally make efficient use of your meter. For example, ending with a level 2 is less efficient than a meta declaration because a meta declaration takes 1 meter and generally gives you more hits and damage. Keep in mind, though, that the more meter you save and are efficient with, the closer you are to having a good combo and damage later on in the future, and being able to deal more damage. In the same way that I said at the beginning of the game, having 1 meter gives you a bajillion more damage than not, because you get a meta declaration. The difference in a game, even though the numbers may change, if someone has 3 meter and someone has 2, the person who has a 3 meter has access to meta world and has access to stop the other person from declaring. That means a lot. So, when you're being a stupid ass and doing dumb level 2s on your character when you could be using a meta declaration, well, you're essentially forfeiting advantages and being inefficient. The closer you are to having a good combo and damage and having access to the meta is more flexibility in general. It's never bad. So, get the most with the least amount of meter possible, generally speaking. And finally, this isn't something I can demonstrate in training mode, I'm afraid, but it's unfortunately a pretty big part of this game, and it's something that I think could very easily make a lot of people, I'll just say, dislike the game. There's something called guard touch and parry touch. Now you may think, playing the game, while you're being hit, if you hit the touch button, you'll fling the opponent off of you. It's a funny mechanic where, yeah, hitting the touch button to you knock a person away. Pretty makes sense, right? Hit touch while in guard stun. It forces the opponent who's hitting you to go into guard or block stun, or I guess it's hit stun. But they stop, basically. It's kind of like push blocking, but way worse. And when you do that, you now come in. But if you end up holding forward and then hitting the touch button, you get a stronger version that gives the opponent more of that hit stun. And if you manage to catch an opponent's C move with the parry touch, which is the one where you hit forward and touch, you actually can punish them. So this means that using C moves and pressure in this game can be incredibly detrimental. Yeah, it costs 1 meter to actually, go out and use this stuff, but also, if it gives you a full punish, even though you may have 1 meter less, a lot of times that can be worth it to just get someone off of you and change momentum. And again, this is something that's very hard to demonstrate in training mode. My apologies, I'm not a video editor and I don't want to record a bunch of footage for 30 minutes. I just want to get this guide out there for new players because I think it's important. So this is going to conclude what I have to say. I have a tendency to ramble, so I'm going to shut the fuck up and let the rest of the video kind of speak for itself. If you want to join us and you've somehow come across this video, I suppose I can put a link to the Discord in the channel. I don't think I have so much reach that people are going to join the Discord just for the sake of seeing this video. It's probably going to be something shared within our community. But yeah, here it is. Excuse the poor video editing and possible funny sounds and my nasally voice and the like. But yeah, hopefully you intermediate players have found this useful and interesting, and it's something that we're all pretty friendly here, right? In the OMK channel, so more character-specific details, stuff like that, you may want to figure that out on your own accord, and then potentially ask in our game strategy channel under discussion. Between the people that play, most of us know things, and even some players that don't really play games anymore, but have a bit of character specialty or specialization, will tell you some of the details of their characters and be willing to share information. Except fucking Larry, fuck that guy. Also, Larry's like the best player. That's kind of a joke. I make fun of him every so often. He's better than us, though, most of the time. Right. So, good luck out there. Try to have fun with the game. It's not a very good game, but it is unique. And it's kept me here, so can't be that bad, I guess. Yeah, take it easy. Good luck.